pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I'm awesome, my friend. How are you, Mr. Ali?
Doing fantastic, man. Ready to close out this year and get started with some 2020.
Yeah, by the time the community's hearing this one, Christmas will have passed. And
Yeah.
we hope everybody had a Merry Christmas or enjoyable holidays, whatever it is you're celebrating. And we want to use this episode to kind of wrap up 2019 and get ready to attack 2020.
Yes, we do. And last week's episode was Your Struggle Can Become Your Power. I really liked a lot of the insights that you shared on that one. 2019 has been a huge year for you, and I'm excited to see what 2020 brings for you as well. What insights did you have with the purposeful practice?
Yeah, I just think it's kind of what we talked about on the show, just realizing that struggle is good, struggle is necessary, and for me, the struggles of 2019 are going to propel me to the successes in 2020. And I think that's kind of how you look at that. You?
Yeah, very similar. I really appreciated a lot of what you said, because I think one of the only areas in my life where I don't really appreciate the struggle as much just yet is financially. 2019 is going to be the first year as an entrepreneur where I'm going to finish in the red a little bit. I've been very fortunate to be in a booming industry to where from year 1 through year 4, finish profitable every year, net positive, increasing revenue, increasing profit.
Yeah.
And even though most businesses don't start out like that, and most businesses takes a few years to become profitable, I had a really hard time in 2019 being like, yes, we're getting into debt, and yes, we're finishing negative. So now I am starting to appreciate it a little more, but that purposeful practice kind of brought that awareness around, okay, how can I appreciate the financial struggle a little bit more because of the lessons it's teaching me? And I was able to get there on, look at the ideas that I had to come up with, and more strategic marketing, more strategic planning, because we didn't have excess funds to just be like, paying for more social media influencers or more SEO or whatever it was.
Well, you bought out business partners, you streamlined processes. So all of that, while struggle now, is ultimately going to gear you up for that big success you're after later.
Yeah.
And too many of us want to avoid the pain of the struggle we're currently in and just trying to skip the line essentially to get to the success. And the struggle is where success is born. The struggle is your power.
That's right.
It's funny you say that, because if you think about it, stock market wise, and trust me, I'm no big stock market guru by any means, but I heard advice, I think it was Warren Buffett, I read it somewhere, that he talked about one of the things he likes to look for is companies that are about to do mass layoffs. Because if you know they're about to you try to buy in before the layoffs, because as soon as they lay off, right, because essentially they're not laying off the people that are critical to getting everything, they're laying off the excess management, the excess that they've accumulated over time. Usually a company following layoffs will skyrocket because it gets more lean, it gets more efficient, it gets more value because it cut out a bunch of waste.
Interesting.
And I think that's kind of how we can look at the struggles in our life. Is the struggle in our life is designed to narrow our focus a little bit, get rid of some of the distractions, put us on a path to future success.
Very cool. I have read about half of the essays of Warren Buffett, not available on audio. You can only get it as a paperback. And that is a tough read, man. But I don't remember coming across that concept.
And it might have been an interview I watched him in or something.
Okay.
But I heard him talk about that.
Yeah, he's a genius, man. He's got a lot of great insights as to investing.
Well, and you think about where he came from and where he's at. That's a dude I'd listen to.
Yeah, and it's amazing how humble he is too. He still has his own his old home in Nebraska.
I love it.
Eats McDonald's
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, not that we're condoning eating McDonald's.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if you're
fuck
Warren
that. Don't
Buffett,
eat
you eat McDonald's.
Yeah, you can eat whatever you want if you're Warren Buffett. Yeah, that's interesting. So goodbye 2019.
Oh,
Hello
my gosh,
2020.
bro. First off, before we skip to the topics, I want to thank you, man, for being a huge part of my 2019.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny when I think back. A year ago, I barely knew you.
Yeah.
You were a student of mine at the gym, and not to be rude, but we have almost 200 students. That's a lot of people I see, but there was always something different about you. I remember even when I was pushing practice hard, and I could see people wanting to quit, you would kind of like get on them a little bit and cheer up the group. And I was like, oh, I appreciate this guy. And then we did the very first Circle of Five in January of 2019. My very first Circle of Five, and
It
you
was
jumped
January,
in. It
huh?
was. I started right
Wow.
after I retired, and I'll
Wow.
never forget, dude, that the first call, everybody had to have like, okay, what is something they want to work on and be held accountable in the Circle of Five, and we had some police employees, we had people from the gym, and you jumped on. I was like, cool, man, all these here. I was like, okay, Ollie, what do you want to work on? You threw out that you wanted to watch less porn.
No, I said I wanted to quit watching
Quit.
porn forever.
And I was like, is he joking? Because we were doing it over Zoom. So I'm like watching the computer. I'm like, no, he's serious. All right, all these goals watching less porn right now. But I just remember it was funny. I was like, okay, this dude is definitely not afraid to just be who he is.
Yeah. No, I remember feeling nervous, but that was like a big 2019 goal because I really analyzed that and I was like, you know what? Like watching porn has zero added benefit to my life. Like I want
Yeah.
to be a person who like never watches porn. And I had a good run of like 3 months, no porn, and drastically reduced my pornography intake. So yeah,
I just remember
that
there
was a
there were some people in the group initially that were probably, oh, I remember one lady in particular is probably in her 50s.
yeah.
And I remember when you threw that, I looked at her little screen, and I could see her. She was like, she never came back.
Who was that?
I'm not gonna throw it out here.
Oh,
She
yeah.
might listen to the show, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she was not interested in helping you not watch porn.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
But it was hilarious, and that was the first. And from that point on, it was fun because in that Circle of Five, you really furthered dialogue and helped people be accountable to themselves and inspire them. And then, well, we finished that. It was a 6-week program. So then mid February, I asked you to go to lunch and kind of threw out the On Purpose podcast idea to you.
Yeah.
And now here we are, episode 41,
Amazing.
turning a page on a year. And so I'm thankful for you for, one, showing up, two, being who you are, and three, believing in me when at times I probably didn't know. You know what I mean? I thought it was possible, but you've definitely been a rock for me, man. I'm appreciative to have you with me for 2019.
Ah, thanks, man. Thanks, man. And I mean, I echo all of that. I'm so grateful that you invited me to Circle of Five, and then that lunch at Hoo Hot when you pitched that podcast. I was like, oh man, let's go. And it was funny because I felt like I was building a lot of momentum during that time to where I really did have to think hard of like, what's something that I really want to improve upon in my life? Because, like I said, business was going good, health was going good, health, wealth. I was in a loving relationship, health, wealth, love, happiness. Like, I was firing on all cylinders to where I was like, what can take me to the next level? Like, what's something that I can eliminate? And it's not like I was like this porn addict watching porn all the time, but it was something that I knew could be eliminated from my life that I had recently seen a TED talk of how like watching pornography alters the brain, and I was like, you know what? I was working on vulnerability. That was a big in
Yeah.
January 2019. That was a big thing of like open arms, like share it all.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, this is something that I'm working on. I even with my accountability group got something installed on my phone and on my computer to where if I viewed anything, they'd get an email.
Oh, gosh.
Which was so I was very serious about that goal. But no, I appreciate you as well, and it's been amazing just to have the different relationships from you, from like coach student to podcast partners to just building an
Friends.
amazing friendship.
Yeah. No, it's a humbling, and doing that first workshop we did together in October with the On Purpose community, and the feedback we got and the responses.
My brother still talks about it.
Well, your brother still talks about it, and T and Rashid are going to, their whole thing was they wanted to move forward on a food truck, and they're moving forward. We've had some follow up meetings with them to kind of hold them accountable and see where they're at. And they're actually going to cater the book launch party that we're going to throw in January.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, I mean, what I love about this community is it's about making everybody successful
Hmm.
and helping everybody move forward. And it's a humbling honor to have earned their trust and to continue to earn it each week, and not something we take for granted.
Amen. Happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, man, and I'm excited for 2020. I'm excited to launch with some guests on the show and start getting some different perspectives and really go to the next level with things.
Me too. Me too. Now, before we hop into 2020, let's reflect a little bit on 2019. For you, massive year. I mean, from
Crazy.
from January to in January, you were a cop, right? In
Don't
January,
know.
or you had
Yeah,
just
I
retired.
just retired a
You
week
you had
before.
you had just retired. You had
Yeah.
just retired. Started Circle of Five.
Yep.
You know, you got in, started the podcast. By towards the end of the year, got the book. You had the
Yeah.
whole transition from the universe showing you, hey, it's possible. You made what, 2 months salary
In
in
3 days.
3 days,
Yeah.
and then you had
Not
a
enough.
dry season of nothing. I mean, so
8 months.
much, so much happened in that
Yeah.
year. So with everything happening for you in 2019, so many different
Yeah.
things on opposite sides of the spectrum, some in the middle. What would you say is the accomplishment that you are most proud of?
Man, that's interesting. I mean, I've thought about this. The book's definitely up there. Um, but honestly, I think if I had to pick one, I would think selling my Jeep, which had been a lifelong dream, selling Andrea's sports car, and just jumping in and buying an Airstream trailer and a truck are probably what I'm most proud of. And here's why. It was nothing I'd ever envisioned doing. I didn't know what Airstream, I mean, I didn't even know what an Airstream was, to be honest with you. I'd never had a diesel truck. I never envisioned myself being a pickup guy. Um, but my wife was struggling. My wife was struggling with the kids not needing her anymore and finding her identity. And she did her research and found that she thought like traveling in an Airstream and seeing the world would bring her happiness. And so I think that's my biggest accomplishment is one, our relationship has blossomed to a point where she even feels comfortable telling me ideas that may seem crazy to a lot of people, and that we're like, let's do it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that's my biggest accomplishment is the fact that I'm doing something I never envisioned doing to help make her dreams come true, and enjoying it along the way.
Yeah. It's amazing. You guys have an awesome relationship.
We've grown, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just hit 20 years.
20?
Yeah,
Nice.
and we're not the same people.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because so many of my friends and people around me are getting divorced at this stage of their life. And I'm like, bro, I got 20 years. This is like an investment. I got 20 years invested. I'm not watching this walk out the door. Like,
Right.
I'm not starting this over. And I think it goes to, quite honestly, to what kind of person Andrea is and her character and her commitment. And
Hmm.
she's like the hardest worker I know. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I would say my biggest, what I'm most proud of is not being afraid to really just change life again and like be like, hey, we're gonna rebuild an Airstream. I don't know anything about this.
Hmm.
I've never towed a trailer. I don't really like camping, but it's a chance for me to help her see the world and really thank her for being a mom to our kids for the last 20 years.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love how you said we're not the same either. You know, I know sometimes as a young man, I struggle with the idea of marriage and struggle with the idea of like, oh, like being with the same person for the rest of my life. But I
Yeah.
love the concept of you're not going to have the same person.
No.
You're going to have the person change throughout the years, and it's amazing. And I feel fortunate to be able to see a loving and what I consider
Yeah.
a successful relationship between
Thanks.
you guys. I see how you guys interact, and it's definitely inspiring to see a strong relationship, family bond that you guys have. So
Thanks, man.
thanks for being you guys.
Yeah,
Shout out Andrea.
we give it a good shot, and she doesn't even listen to the podcast. You guys could tell her we talked about her. What about you? What's your biggest accomplishment, would you say, for the year?
There's a few things I'm proud of, and I was reflecting on this too. But I think it's funny because kind of tying back into last episode, it's the one that caused me the most struggle, and that was finally buying out my business partners, because it was tough, first of all, to admit that, hey, this isn't working. Something that we've been
Yeah.
together. It's like a very deep relationship. Yeah, it's so much time invested, 4 years, and I mean the actual buyout. It was like having a baby. It took like 9 months, to where it was a lot of hardship, to where there was times where I was thinking, yeah, why don't I just deal with it?
Yeah.
Let them hold that percentage of the company, and we move forward. But I think just the entire journey of what I had to learn, pros and cons of the buyout, and then actually, multiple meetings with the attorney, and finally just signing those papers of like, wow, I stood up for something that I believed was best for me, for the business, and I executed on it despite how uncomfortable it was, and just how much emotion there was involved from both of us.
Right.
And I'm really just grateful and appreciative that I had that experience. Now I can say as an entrepreneur, like, I've had that business partner struggle and that buyout that so many entrepreneurs talk about. I've had that experience, and
Yep.
it completely changed the way that I view business partnerships, and I know that I'm a much more adept businessman because of the experience. So I would say that was my accomplishment that I'm most proud of, is getting that done.
Yeah, that's those are tough. And those goes back to like the critical conversations and kind of knowing your value and what you're worth and what you're willing to tolerate or not tolerate. And it's definitely, it can get complicated when businesses are involved.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That when did that actually take place? I forget now. Looking back on the year, was that like June,
That was, I believe, it became official uh, July.
July?
Yeah.
Gosh, the year went so fast. Because I remember we talked a lot about it.
Hmm.
I just couldn't remember when it finished. Is there anything in 2019 that was on your goal list that we're gonna push to 2020 that didn't get done?
Yep, the MMA fight.
Oh
So
yeah,
so I put it
January
down for
25th.
2019. Yeah, but now it's booked January 25th, 2020. Got tickets if you need them
That's right. Come
at
support.
Jeffco Fairgrounds Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the work has been done, is continuing to get done in 2019 for that day. So yeah, that was left behind, and then of course, getting the business where I want to. I wanted to break that $1 million revenue mark.
Yeah.
This year we didn't hit that, but a big part of that was the struggle, and,
Yeah.
and all of the change up with the buyout. But those are two that I'm confident are going to get done for 2020.
All right. So for me, what do I think I've left on the table for 2020? As I reflect, probably it wasn't any of my business things, even though they weren't all successful. I would probably say my goal of enhancing my relationship with my kids is something that I wasn't as successful as I want, especially with my oldest daughter, Driana.
Hmm.
So I'm looking to really expand on that in 2020, I think.
Nice. And that's an ongoing something, right? That probably can't be
No,
achieved.
no, I don't think there's an achievement there, but I think if we're honest with ourselves, we know when the relationships we are in are really thriving, when they're just being maintained, or when they're being neglected. And
Right.
she's 24 now, so she's kind of through her adolescent turbulent time, and blossom into a little lady that she, a young woman that she is, and I'm
Hmm.
excited to see what's next in her chapter of life, and to really make sure she knows that we're there for her.
Nice. And then for 2019, so you talked a little bit about your biggest accomplishments, but what would you say were some of the greatest learning moments?
Quite honestly, probably just making that leap, just going against what everybody else said I should do, and um, realizing that I like that. I like not being what everybody else thinks I should be. Whether it was retiring early, starting businesses, buying an Airstream so that
Hmm.
we could travel the country, and I would say that's my greatest learning moment, is that no matter what stage in life you're at, it's okay to do what really makes you happy.
Yeah.
And that's what I would tell you. I've had less money this year,
Mm-hmm.
by far less money.
Mm-hmm.
Less, I don't have I'm a police officer, so like that's kind of like credibility in the community,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had way more happiness.
Nice.
Just like infinitely more happy. And like you actually even said it, you shared that picture, must have been like a Facebook memory from a year ago with me and Lip,
Yeah.
where I was in uniform. That was literally the last time I ever wore my uniform, was for a graduation. And even you were like, yeah, dude, you just look like you're like heavier feeling.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I just. I feel like I can see more joy and happiness in you
For
now.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even I think actually Driana, my oldest, has mentioned that.
Mm.
And why I don't regret spending 21 years as a cop, because it part of that was that struggle to create who I am now.
Yeah.
So I'm
Part of your
thankful,
journey.
but I'm also super thankful that I'm okay with taking some risks to now really enjoy this next stage of my life.
Yeah. New chapter.
Chapters.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, just within 1 year, you look at what we've accomplished with the podcast and the workshops and a book. That's a lot of stuff people will never do in their lives.
Yeah.
And we crushed it in a
Huge
year.
Yeah. It's a huge
Imagine
year.
what next year brings. Now that I've struggled, we've learned. Now we apply those lessons in 2020. We're gonna have that much more success.
Yeah.
But what we will also have is that many more struggles, because with new success comes new things we didn't know.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I'm excited for that. Like, that's what excites me in 2020, is applying 2019 lessons, having more success, and then getting hit with more stuff I still have to learn.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, we climbed a huge mountain this year, but behind mountains are more mountains.
Always.
So got to climb some more.
Yeah, and I love it. So, what was your biggest learning moment?
It had to be the whole Bondi experience, consequences through clarity. It was, I don't like, especially being my own boss.
Yeah.
I don't have much authority over me anymore. So I hated the fact that a judge sitting up in his chair could tell me how to live my life, and that I had to be subject to these P tests and all this stuff for something that, yes, I could have avoided, but something that ultimately was brought to me that it infuriated me. But that was definitely a big learning experience. One, to just take responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
And two, how important it is to disconnect from daily habits and rituals, and to try and take an outside perspective on all things in your life, even
Yeah.
things that you think are serving you well, just to really analyze your entire life. And having those tests and that period of probation really made me analyze a lot. And I think that was a huge learning experience for me. And one, taking responsibility,
Yeah.
and two, continuously disconnect and analyze.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, do you think in 2020 you're going to schedule some disconnect time, or how do you plan on applying that lesson? Have you thought about it?
Definitely. I think my trip to Egypt was huge too.
Yeah.
Of completely disconnecting from work, on disconnecting from my habits and rituals, to where I've always had the goal of minimum once a year to travel outside of the country. But I think now on a smaller scale, I think I need to have like a once a quarter, even if it's something, take a 3-day weekend in some solitude, go camping, or something like that, to where I'm not looking at emails, I'm not drinking alcohol or smoking,
Yeah.
or anything to impair my brain, to really just have complete clarity, do a lot of journaling and meditation. I think that's going to be big for me in 2020, to do it at least once a quarter.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to coming down and doing a sweat lodge thing with you.
Oh yeah.
I want to get that. That's one of my goals for 2020, is to experience that at least once.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good one, man. It'll push you to the brink. So
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I haven't been pushed to the brink of quitting in a while.
yeah.
And like physically, like business wise, I've definitely thought about quitting.
Right.
But nah, that'll be fun. And Trey wants to do it with us, so
Yeah, I'll
it'll be
let you
fun to
guys know.
share that moment with him.
I'll ask the guys over at Sunrise. So okay, so that's on your list for
Yeah,
2020.
yeah,
But I mean, what's next for you as far as like your biggest or big goals? I know you and I did annual planning for the OPP podcast. We have guests coming on. We
yeah.
got some workshops in the making. We did that planning, but honestly, I don't really know what your big goals, or maybe if you have your one biggest goal, like the book for this year.
Yeah, that's probably
What would you
that's a
say
big
is
one.
your biggest, or a few massive goals that you have for 2020?
So probably my biggest right now is getting the Airstream rebuilt, getting that finished. We want to have that done by April, and then all summer we want to be able to travel. There's like 13 national parks in Colorado that I had no idea about that we want to go see, and my goal for that is because I just want to see my wife happy in that. You know what I mean? Like this is like something she dreams of. Is I want to be able to make that come true. And I don't know if I like it. I mean, I've never done it, but I'm willing to try it.
Yeah.
So my big goal is to get the trailer rebuilt because we totally gutted it. We're renovating it, and then get out and just experience nature and really get away from all the city stuff that we have to do, to just get closer to people.
Mm.
And then eventually, I don't know if I'll do it in 2020, but eventually I want to. The Airstream is going to tie in a couple other ways. Is I want to. The book is called Extraordinary People in Ordinary Places, and it's just about extraordinary people that came into my life from ordinary roles and what I learned from them. And I'm excited with the Airstream and our community to travel around the country and find more extraordinary people and share their stories.
Love it. That's exciting.
Yeah, you?
Big year. Well, aside from the on purpose goals, uh, obviously the first one January to win my MMA fight, and I have a goal of. I haven't decided exactly what it's going to be. I was talking to my instructor, but I just started taking piano
Yeah.
lessons. I don't know how to play any instruments, and I know that it's just a different side of the brain that's really good for overall brain health. I'd like to either play uh, a really nice like Beethoven or Bach song, or do some sort of performance like a piano performance or something. And then I have a goal to study Arabic every week and travel to Lebanon, see my grandparents. They're getting old, and I really love them a lot, but I've never been able to have a deep conversation with them because I know a little bit of Arabic, enough to get around. They know
Yeah.
a little bit of English, but there's kind of a ceiling to how deep we can take conversations just because of the language barrier. So my goal is to study Arabic, travel to Lebanon, visit them. You know, they're late 70s, coming up on 80. Nothing's guaranteed, and would like to have the deepest conversation yet that I've had with my grandparents, and maybe even ask them some purposeful questions about
Yeah.
their life, so I have some substance from them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's interesting to me that both of our big goals are about people.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
neither of us mentioned our big goals to earn so much money or have this fancy thing. And truly, that's where I'm at in my life. Is my goal is just meet people. I want to learn more stories and learn more knowledge and share more things. Because that's truly, at the end of the day, nothing else matters but your relationships. Um, and I'm so thankful for what we've created over the course of this year and the relationships with our community. I am excited for the workshops. I'm excited to add to it with accountability follow-up calls. I'm excited to help propel people to their dreams and continue to share our dreams with them. And I just see big things all around in 2020.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, I think we're good
Yeah, let's give them some practice.
to
And
wrap it up here, celebrate the new year, and get after it in 2020. So again, just a couple more weeks that we're going to be sending some of these beautiful on purpose t-shirts. So get your purposeful practice in for this episode. Part 1 is reflect on what is your biggest accomplishment for the year. reflect on that, enjoy that reflection. Part two is what is something you will carry over into 2020 to get done? Then, what was your biggest learning point in 2019? And then, what is your biggest goal in 2020? And last and most importantly, email your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, Ali. I'm thankful for the year we've had, and I'm excited for what we create in the future, buddy.
Likewise, can't wait.
Awesome. All right, team. Remember, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all in the new year.